Ashes of the Inexplicable, A Chronicle of Fire, 1951 to 2010. The leather-bound case files lay before me in the dim light of my study on this cold December night in 2024, their yellowed pages exhaling the musty breath of forgotten mysteries. As an investigator of peculiar deaths for 3 decades, I've documented the darkest corners of human mortality. Yet these cases, these impossible immolations spanning nearly 60 years, haunt me still. The grandfather clock strikes midnight as I open the first file. Chicago, Illinois, December 12, 1979. Jeanette Kazmierczak's third-floor apartment at 1024 West Montrose stands frozen in my memory. The untouched furniture, the morning newspaper folded neatly on the coffee table, and there, in that damned armchair, the awful gray powder that had once been a 64-year-old woman. Only the ceiling above bore witness, its surface stained with a greasy residue that no amount of scrubbing could remove. The photographs spill across my desk, 76-year-old George Mott's skull grinning up from a pile of fine ash, his firefighter's badge untarnished beside the remains. Crown Point, New York, March 26, 1986. The cruel irony of a man who had spent his life battling flames, only to be consumed by an inexplicable fire that left his plastic oxygen mask unmelted mere inches away. His case file still bears the smell of smoke, as if the very pages are haunted by that mysterious combustion. The documentation of Henry Thomas, discovered on the bitter morning of February 13, 1980 in South Wales, feels heavier than the others. The 73-year-old's case bears the weight of contradiction, his legs still clothed in barely singed trousers, while the rest of him vanished into ash in his living room at 49 Merthyr Road. The Welsh police's neat conclusion about fireplace accidents rings hollow when I recall the cold hearth, the undisturbed coal, the impossible patterns of destruction that defied every law of thermodynamics I knew. A newspaper clipping flutters to the floor. Mary Reeser's story, splashed across the St. Petersburg Times. July 2, 1951. The morning that forever changed our understanding of death by fire. The FBI's involvement lent gravity to what might otherwise have been dismissed as local superstition in the Florida heat. I trace my finger across the photograph of her apartment at 1200 Cherry Street Northeast, the walls unmarked by flame, the furniture pristine, save for that terrible chair and its burden of carbonized bone from the 67-year-old victim. The most recent file holds Michael Faherty's case, its pages still crisp and white. Galway, Ireland, December 22, 2010. The 76-year-old's death at his home at Clairview Park, Ballybane, marked a turning point, when Galway's coroner had dared to write what we had all whispered in our darkest moments: spontaneous human combustion. The scientific community's outrage was predictable, their explanations rational. Yet rationality feels thin comfort when I remember standing in that room, breathing air thick with impossibility, staring at a ceiling scorched by heat that had somehow burned inward rather than out. The rain beats against my study window like desperate fingers as I close the last file. These cases span 59 years and 3 continents, yet they share the same terrible signature: bodies reduced to ash while their surroundings remain eerily untouched. Science offers us the wick effect, a neat theory of clothing and fat becoming makeshift candles. But I've seen too many crime scenes, too many ordinary fires, to accept such tidy explanations. Sometimes, in the small hours when sleep eludes me, I imagine these souls in their final moments, from Mary Reeser in the sweltering Florida summer of '51 to Michael Faherty in the bitter Irish winter of 2010. Did they feel the impossible heat building within? Did they try to cry out as their very essence ignited? Or did they simply cease, transformed in an instant from flesh to ash by some dark mechanism our modern wisdom cannot grasp? The clock chimes again, and I realize I've been rubbing my arms, trying to ward off a chill that has nothing to do with the weather. Tomorrow these files will return to their cabinet, and I will return to my world of explicable deaths. But tonight, in the shadows of my study, I admit what my profession demands I deny: that perhaps there are forces in this universe that laugh at our careful categorizations, that dance in the space between what we know and what we fear to know. The candle on my desk gutters, and for a moment I imagine I feel a strange warmth building in my chest.